Reaching a net worth of 100k is one of the hardest milestones to reach as an investor. And if you're sitting there at points feeling just like user 078346, you may feel like, well, you're not really getting anywhere. But don't worry, in this case, you are certainly not alone. You see, in the late 1990s, somebody shared this exact same frustration at a Berkshire Hathaway investors conference, and the now late Charlie Munger, who is basically like one of the godfathers of investing, once said, "The first 100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do, even if it means walking and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, just find your way to get your hands on $100,000. And after that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." Which is actually why today I'm going to break down, well, this entire statement and explain why it is so hard to get to, but more importantly, why that 100k net worth goes absolutely bonkers once you get there. So why is reaching £100,000 in net worth so hard to get to? Well, let's break things down, and let's start right at the beginning with people who haven't even started yet, with the main issue being it's a bloody big target to reach. And I'm going to sit here and say that I don't care what anyone says about inflation, £100,000 is still a lot of money, and if you are starting from zero, I really wouldn't blame you if at first you felt maybe like it's slightly unachievable. However, the main thing here, and the problem which a lot of people are facing, is you can't let it stop you. Some of the common excuses that I normally hear from people in this situation are things like, "Oh, I'll just start investing when I get more money," or "I only make £25,000 a year. It would take me decades after my bills to even save that type of amount." And of course, you know what I'm going to say. This is totally the wrong mindset. I actually saw a quote the other day, which I thought was great. And it said, "Saying you will invest when you only have more money is essentially like saying, I'm only going to add the wood on when there's a fire." But essentially, that's the first hurdle. Mentally, it is a big number, and it really does stop a lot of people from getting started. However, for those that have made the leap and you're already starting to contribute, the real main reason behind why this milestone is just so tough, it all lies around how much you actually have to contribute at the start versus what compounding interest can actually do to help you. Basically, compounding interest is the interest you make on the interest you already have. I'll put a proper explanation on the screen right now, so you can just pause the video and read if you need to, but let's move on. You see, when you first start investing, the majority of your total portfolio value is mainly going to come from the initial money that you have to contribute. For example, let's say you invested £1,000 for exactly 1 year and your money returned 5%. This means that 95% of the total at the end would be what you put in, and the remaining just 5% would be the interest that you made. And of course, before anybody says, you're always going to have that one friend who 100x their money on a stupid NFT token or crypto coin. But these are just not realistic examples for everyday investors like me and you, and they're just not a sustainable way to truly grow your wealth. But anyways, going back to the point, let's actually go ahead and use a chart to see how long it could potentially take us to reach 100k starting right from zero. Okay, so let's say in an ideal world, you are able to invest, let's say, £10,000 a year into the stock market, let's say, and on average, your investments made you a 10% interest on your money. Doing this every single year, you would be able to reach the 100k net worth milestone in around about 7 or so years. Your contributions would be 70,000 and your interest would be at around 34,000. And of course, this would be a great achievement, but the key thing that I want to point out here on the chart is the difference in between your contributions versus how much interest has actually helped you get to that mark. It's very obvious to see that first off, building up through the years, the percentage between these two are absolutely massive. I will come back to this chart in just a second, but going back to that original Charlie Munger statement, this very much explains why you need to be getting as much of your income into your investments as humanly possible. So far, so good? Well, here's the catch. You see, if you are just starting out on your investing journey, there's a very high chance that you're probably going to be young and you're actually going to be very early on in your career. This means you're probably going to have a lower paying job than what you will in 20 years from now. You'll have bills to pay, such as mortgages, rent, and a family maybe. And of course, let's not forget that we're currently in the middle of a cost of living crisis. So with that said, finding the spare cash to invest is probably going to be a little bit more challenging, and sacrifices will definitely have to be made. And this is why it's just not easy. Reaching this goal is a tough thing to do, but I really do mean this when I say it. I honestly think it doesn't matter what you do, who you are, It is absolutely possible, which actually nicely highlights Munger's second part of his original statement. He says it doesn't matter if you have to walk or go without eating unless you have coupons, just find your way to get your hands on that $100,000. Please do make sure you actually do eat. It would be really bad if you didn't, but I'm sure you get the point. But in a nutshell, these are really the two main reasons why it does feel and it is so hard to achieve this milestone. But here's the great news. Once you get there, things are going to get so much easier. And I think some of the stats I'm about to share with you might actually leave a couple of you in shock. So here we go. Why does your money actually explode when you reach that 100K net worth mark? Well, once again, it very much comes down to compound interest and the percentage of what you contribute versus what you are already making on the money you already have invested. And as we know by now, with compounding, the more money you have in your portfolio, the greater effect the interest rate will have on your current investment. Let's actually head back to that original chart again where we left off with just reaching that 100K mark after around 7 years of investing at around 10% annual interest. Now all I'm going to do with this chart is I'm just going to add 2 more years onto this, and we're going to pretend that we're contributing exactly the same as we were before. What you can see now is in just those 2 years, the investment has actually increased a further £45,000. I think this is absolutely insane because this is actually half the time it would take to make that much money if we were starting on year 1 with 0 again. What I'm also hoping you can see is the 2 colors representing the contribution amount versus the money made from interest. On the chart over the years, the blue bar, which indicates interest, is actually getting closer to the green chart, which shows the amount of contribution. In fact, what I will actually do is just add a further 5 more years to this chart. And now what you can actually see is the point where our interest is now actually helping more towards the total amount rather than the actual contributions. I think this right here actually emphasizes how important the term time invested actually is when it comes to long-term investing for financial freedom. In fact, just before I do move on, let's actually just use a quick scenario that you did want to do this until you retired. And let's say you invested for 40 years with the same settings. And whilst I'm not going to go into it too much, I'm pretty sure it's clear that you can see from the chart the explosive growth that your portfolio will see and the effect that compounding interest has on everything over time. But wait, it doesn't stop there. You see, whilst we said when we were first starting out that income would likely be lower and it'd be a little bit of a challenge, by the time you hit that 100K mark, your income would have likely improved by then. And if you do manage to avoid things such as lifestyle creep, finding the spare cash to invest will be much less of a challenge, and maybe you can even contribute more. But even if you can't, it's not even important because the hard work has already been done. Which does in fact actually round up Munger's final part of his statement. You can then take your foot off the gas a little bit. I would always say continue to invest into the markets and into your portfolio, but like Munger said, you don't have to worry about it as much. So what should you do? I mean, it's very easy for me just to sit here and throw all of these numbers on the screen in a what could be kind of fashion, but what should you actually do now if you actually want to achieve this? If you are just starting out, it's pretty simple. Your goal right now should just be to get as much money as you can and put it away every single year. At the start, don't even worry about what interest rates you're getting. These aren't going to be a big deal because of the money you have to start out with. Don't even listen to the examples I've used in this video. I mean, you don't have to invest 10K. You just need to make sure that you are doing as much as you can by making the right lifestyle choices and investing as much money as possible, as much as I want to repeat it. These principles are completely universal across the world, but if you are from the UK, which the majority of people who watch my channel are, you definitely want to be placing your portfolio in some kind of a tax-free wrapper like a cash or stocks and shares ISA. And you really want to be trying to get as close to that max tax-free limit of £20,000 invested every single year. I know it might not be achievable to max out every single time, but remember, this limit gets reset every single year. You cannot carry that money over. So if you do have spare cash sitting around, just get it in there just so you have that tax-free coverage on that money. Moving on to the investment types, if it's a stocks and shares ISA you're going to be looking at, I would personally stick with the safer investments like diversified ETFs and index funds like the S&P 500, for example, rather than focusing on individual stocks and shares. Remember, whilst let's say investing into Apple stock may produce a better return and it will slightly speed up the process, no matter what, you're likely going to have to add around 70 to 80k before you meet the 100k milestone, no matter what you invest into. So there is literally no need to take any unnecessary risks. Another thing, if you are planning for the long-term future, which you absolutely should be, make sure that you are using a trusted broker or bank. Now, if it's a cash ISA, you'll already know the banks that you can pick, but if it is a stocks and shares one, you'll need to pick a solid investing app. Me personally, I would recommend Trading 212. It's great for beginners, it's easy to understand, and you're going to get really good insights on how well your money is actually doing. They're currently offering a free stock worth up to £100 to anybody who signs up with my link in the description. I will also get one just for clarity, but regardless, it's a really good app. And of course, most importantly, the final thing is you just need to stick at it. I'm going to say it once again, getting to 100k is one of the hardest things you'll do as an investor. You just need to trust the real data, understand that it isn't easy, like I just said, and it will take time. So you just need to keep investing with that long-term mindset. But other than that, good luck to everybody that is on their journey to 100k. And I would really love to hear where everybody is with their journey right now. So let me know in the comments below. Hope this video was insightful for you. If you did, once again, please do let me know, and I'll see you next time.